Our Constitution,
our values,
paragraph
speak about
3,
the fabric
reads,
of our society,
we, the people of
the
Kenya,
things that pull us together,
of our
the things
ethnic,
that we share as a
religious
people.
diversity, and determined
The preamble to our
in
Constitution,
peace
in particular,
and
paragraph
as
3,
one indivisible
reads,
sovereign
we,
nation,
the people of Kenya,
and continues
proud
so
of
on
our
and so
ethnic,
forth.
cultural,
From those words,
religious diversity,
we realize
and determined to live in peace and
right
unity
from page
as
1
one
of framing
indivisible
of our
sovereign nation,
We then
and
went
continues so on and so forth.
substantive provisions.
From those words,
a lot
we
has been said
realize
about
what the
Article 10
thinking
our
of the Kenyan
Constitution,
people was,
to the extent that
right
it speaks to the
from
values
page 1
that as
of
a people
framing of our
we want to be associated with. We have dedicated a whole chapter of our Constitution to the questions around leadership and integrity. It then tells us how central the values that we hold are to each other as a nation. Now, if we look at impeachment from that lens, then we realize and appreciate that impeachment then comes in to hold our leaders at an even higher pedestal, so that we have a tone at the top that is acceptable, a tone that gives us what has been called elsewhere political hygiene. We have had occasion in this country where people who have been in positions of leadership have been treated in what other people have thought has been harsh treatments. But it is because when there's a tone at the leadership to be set, it must be clear, it must be vibrant, and it must be the right tone. We've had leadership, people from the leadership who've lost their office because of having pinched somebody. We have people who have lost their offices because of utterances that were considered inappropriate. A slap has gotten somebody to go through a fairly painful process. It is because the slap is not necessarily the issue, it is the message that it sends. And so similarly, when we talk about our leaders, we then must ask ourselves, what does one wrong word do to the fabric of our society? It is on the basis of that background that we then consider the impeachment motion that is currently before this House. My colleagues who have spoken before me have taken us through the provisions of Article 150, 1B, which then speaks to the very grounds that this House should consider in whether to impeach His Excellency, the Deputy President, or not. I wouldn't want to go into those grounds because the record before this House contains material in support of those grounds. I would urge, Mr. Speaker, sir, that now that His Excellency, the Deputy President, has had occasion to present material before this House, that this House could consider in response to the motion for impeachment. When you retire to debate, to deliberate, we urge that you take into consideration the entirety of that material. We also ask that you also take time to look at what the mover of the motion presented before this House, as well as all the witnesses, including what came from public participation. That would give us an opportunity to, in a very objective way, reflect on what and how to deal with the questions that have been presented. I need not go into the specifics of each of the charges, but if I was to present examples, I need not go into the specifics of each of the charges, but if I was to give examples, when we have the Deputy President of this country, a leader, somebody who is required by the Constitution to take an oath, confirming or affirming to Kenyans that they will not divulge whatever comes out of secrecy, out of confidential conversations that come to their knowledge by virtue of the office that they occupy. If that person then defies that bond or that commitment that they've had with Kenyans, it is a gross violation. Similarly, when we have somebody occupying the space of the high calling of the office of the Deputy President, admitting issues that would amount to conflict of interest between his personal interest, his family interest, and which have financial implications. Again, our laws then dictate that those are reasons that would be sufficient to impeach such a deputy president. We've had examples that have been given
that amount to
about
conflict of interest between his personal interest, his family interest, and which have financial implications. Again, our laws then dictate that those are reasons that would be sufficient to impeach such a deputy president.
In their natural meaning, could cause.
We've had examples that have been given amount to conflict of interest between his personal interest, his family interest, and which have financial implications. Again, our laws then dictate that those are reasons that would be sufficient to impeach such a deputy president.
In their natural meaning, because
we've had examples that have been given amount.
One way of ensuring that there are checks and balances that flow from the constitutional powers vested in this House. Mr. Speaker, sir, as has been demonstrated through the many tons of documents that have been availed before this House, the cross-examination that has attended to the witnesses that have been before this House, and the material that has been placed by the mover, by all the parties who've had an opportunity to participate in the proceedings of this House, we have absolutely no doubt that this House is perfectly capable of making the appropriate decision in each and every of those counts. And just for emphasis, Article 150, Subarticle 1B, gives us 3 grounds. We do not have to have beyond 1. Any one of those is more than sufficient to make the call or to pull the trigger on an impeachment motion. Mr. Speaker, with that, I rest, and we thank you for according us this opportunity this evening. Most obliged.
So, are you done now with your submissions?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you.
We are done.
Thank you. Now, Honorable Senators, I'll refer you to the program. You will notice that after the closing statements from the parties, the Senate is supposed to move to a closed session to deliberate on the issues that have been raised. And that is pursuant to our rules of procedure. That is demanded of us by the rules of procedure. So at this juncture, I will allow the parties to retire as the Senate moves to a closed session. That closed session will take us not more than half an hour. After that, we'll come back. Once we are back, there's going to be a special motion contained in an order paper. That is the motion that will allow debate culminating into honorable senators getting the opportunity to cast their vote on each of those charges, of the 11 charges. So, Counsel for the National Assembly, you may now retire. Once we resume open session, of course, you'll resume your seats.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir.
The media. Let me apologize, I've taken more than the 5 minutes. The matters that had been raised are weighty, but I'm ready with my ruling and I'll proceed to deliver it. Honorable Senators, ladies and gentlemen, as you will recall,